Are you absolutely exhausted, Leafs Nation? Because if you're anything like me, you've spent this entire offseason with your jaw on the floor, watching the Toronto Maple Leafs embark on a transformation so profound, so utterly dramatic, that it feels less like a roster reshuffle and more like a full-blown organizational exorcism. We've talked ad nauseum about the seismic shift that was the Mitch Marner trade, a move that sent shockwaves through the very core of this franchise. But here's the thing. While Marner's departure rightfully dominated every headline, every podcast, every late-night debate, it masked a quiet exodus, a series of less heralded but equally significant goodbyes that are fundamentally reshaping the Leafs' identity. Beyond the blockbuster deals and the star-studded exits, Toronto's offseason has been defined by a multitude of departures, each one chipping away at the familiar landscape of the team. Just 4 agonizing days after the club was unceremoniously bounced in Game 7 of the 2025 Stanley Cup playoffs by the Florida Panthers, a wound that still festers, by the way. The axe fell on team president Brendan Shanahan, effectively ending the fabled Shana Plan era. And then, of course, the early summer was consumed by the messy, drawn-out divorce between the Maple Leafs and Mitch Marner, culminating in that trade that sent the team's reigning scoring leader to the Vegas Golden Knights. Somewhere in the midst of all this chaos, assistant coach Lane Lambert was poached by the Seattle Kraken to become their new head coach. With these high-profile exits, particularly Marner's, monopolizing headlines, it was all too easy to overlook the less significant, yet still noteworthy, losses of personnel throughout the organization. While Toronto still boasts a formidable core with Austin Matthews, William Nylander, Matthew Knies, and John Tavares, it's crucial to shine a light on some of the other players who have moved on and to try and understand the rationale behind their absence from the blue and white. Let's start with a departure that, for many, remains a head-scratcher. Pontus Holmberg. Of all the players from the 2024-25 Maple Leafs roster who are no longer with the club, Holmberg might be the one who leaves us scratching our heads the most. This versatile 26-year-old earned genuine praise from head coach Craig Berube, and at one point was even elevated to the second line for his tenacious two-way game and his uncanny ability to kill penalties. He consistently demonstrated his value, even if his stat line at just 7 goals on the season didn't jump off the page. He was a quiet workhorse, a reliable presence, even playing in all but one of the team's 13 postseason games. So what happened? To make things even more perplexing, Holmberg wasn't even an unrestricted free agent. General Manager Brad Treliving and the Maple Leafs simply opted not to extend a qualifying offer to the Swedish forward, effectively allowing him to walk. He swiftly signed a 2-year, $3.1 million deal with the divisional rival Tampa Bay Lightning, amidst reports that he was highly coveted around the league. Treliving has since admitted concerns about how much Holmberg might have cost the organization in arbitration, and whether they could even fit him under the salary cap. It's a cold, hard business decision, but one that leaves a tangible gap in the Leafs' bottom 6. Next up, the intriguing case of Max Pacioretty. Before last season, Pacioretty earned a spot on the Maple Leafs via a professional tryout at training camp, ultimately signing a 1-year deal. The 35-year-old veteran, with a staggering 939 NHL games under his belt, rewarded the club with some truly clutch moments in the blue and white, including 3 pivotal playoff goals. He showed flashes of a 6-time 30-goal scorer. He once was a testament to his enduring skill. Unfortunately, Pacioretty also stayed true to his reputation for being injury-prone, appearing in just 37 regular season games. The fact that Pacioretty hasn't yet returned to the team doesn't necessarily seal his fate with the Maple Leafs organization. There's still time for him to sign another low-risk, 1-year deal as a respected veteran presence in the locker room who can still produce when healthy. The former Montreal Canadiens captain proved last season that he still had gas in the tank, so he'll likely find a home in the NHL before opening night. Whether that home will be in Toronto or not will probably hinge on the club's roster and financial situation, and his ability to adapt to it. It's a waiting game, a gamble on health, but one that could pay dividends if the stars align. Then there's Ryan Reaves, a departure that, by all statistical measures, shouldn't be major news, given he's coming off a 35-game season with 0 goals and just 2 assists. But this is a testament to the sheer force of Ryan Reaves' personality. The veteran enforcer endeared himself to a segment of the Toronto fan base over 2 seasons for being loud, impetuous, and always willing to drop the gloves, even if it sometimes meant taking ill-advised penalties. However, the 38-year-old was clearly past his prime when he was assigned to the Toronto Marlies in March. Simply put, there was no longer space for him on the Maple Leafs roster, and the remaining $1.35 million on his contract could be far better utilized elsewhere. Treliving made a shrewd move by finding him a new home in San Jose, while simultaneously adding valuable defensive depth in 24-year-old Henry Thrun. Toronto will undoubtedly need to find a new face for their pregame video hype, but trading Reaves for Thrun was a smart, business-savvy decision that saved the club $350,000 and brought in a much more useful player. It's a move that prioritizes on-ice utility over locker room presence, a sign of Treliving's pragmatic approach. And while the Maple Leafs are bracing for significant loss of Marner, let's not minimize the profound impact of this summer's changes on their AHL affiliate, the Marlies. The American Hockey League club lost 3 of their top 6 scorers from last season, with Alex Steeves reuniting with Fraser Minton in Boston, Nick Abruzzese heading to Tampa Bay, and Joseph Blandisai signing in Russia. Additionally, veteran Kyle Clifford recently opted to hang up his skates and transition into a management role within the organization. Steeves, in particular, had a truly memorable 2024-25 campaign, becoming the Marlies' all-time leading scorer in a 36-goal season, and even potting his first NHL goal. The 25-year-old would almost certainly have been in the thick of the competition for an NHL roster spot to start the season, making his departure genuinely surprising. While no one, be it Blandisai, Abruzzese, or Clifford, was expected to play a significant role with the Maple Leafs, their absences will undoubtedly be felt at Coca-Cola Coliseum this season, leaving a void in leadership and offensive production for the Marlies. Who, for instance, will be left to skate off the ice like a madman at the end of warm-ups now that Blandisai is gone? Then there's the curious case of Jani Hakanpää. Assuming we've reached the end of Jani Hakanpää's journey with the Maple Leafs, what a bizarre one-year odyssey it was. First he was signed, then he wasn't, and then he was again. And all that offseason confusion ultimately amounted to just 2 games played, as the 33-year-old defenseman was severely limited by the very same knee issues that had initially complicated his signing. In his end-of-season press conference, Treliving candidly commented on the Hakanpää acquisition, admitting, "There was always a risk. We tried it, and it didn't work out." Considering that blunt assessment of the club's year-long experiment with a Finnish defenseman, it is highly improbable that we'll see him in blue and white again. It was a swing and a miss, a calculated gamble that simply didn't pay off, highlighting the inherent risks in trying to sign players recovering from significant injuries. The goaltending carousel also saw a significant turn with Matt Murray. The Maple Leafs, then under the command of General Manager Kyle Dubas, raised eyebrows when they acquired Matt Murray from the Ottawa Senators to bolster their goaltending position in the summer of 2022. They provoked another curious reaction when, after 2 disappointing seasons, they re-signed the unrestricted free agent goaltender last summer. 3 seasons, however, appeared to be enough, as the frequently injured netminder signed with Lambert and the Kraken in July. Murray struggled mightily with injuries and underperformance in his first season in Toronto. In his second year, he was healthy for all 3 games with the Marlies. He even played well for the franchise's AHL affiliate last season, posting a 10-5-4 record with a .934 save percentage and a 1.72 goals against average. But it simply wasn't enough to keep him in the organization. With promising young netminders Dennis Hildebrand and Artur Akhtamov poised to take the reins for the Marlies, it remains to be seen whether the organization will add more veteran goaltending depth behind the Maple Leafs' current tandem of Anthony Stolarz and Joseph Woll. Finally, we need to talk about the Marlies' Finnish contingent on defense. We've already discussed the Marlies' departures in the forward core, but that doesn't even begin to cover the blows the AHL team took on the back end, and almost entirely from one part of the world, no less. Indeed, it's been a tough summer for Finnish defensemen in the Maple Leaf system. In addition to the aforementioned Hakanpää, Topi Niemela, Roni Hirvonen, and Mikko Kakkonen have all signed contracts overseas. Niemela and Hirvonen did receive qualifying offers from the Maple Leafs, allowing the club to retain their NHL rights even as they head to Finland and Sweden, respectively. Hakanpää, however, has left the organization entirely. Regardless, the fact that all three young players, Niemela and Hirvonen, are 23, Hakanpää is 24, will be playing elsewhere next season demonstrates that the luster has faded from what were once considered key prospects. It also suggests that Treliving likely doesn't hold them in the same high regard as Dubas, who selected them early in the 2019 and 2020 NHL entry drafts. This signals a shift in the prospect pipeline, a clear indication of Treliving's vision for the future of the defensive core. It's abundantly clear that none of these individual losses carry the emotional weight or the on-ice impact of Mitch Marner's departure. That was the earthquake. But these other moves? These are the aftershocks, the subtle tremors that are reshaping the very foundation of the Toronto Maple Leafs. In a city where even fourth-line players can become household names, each of these mentioned absences will be felt in one way or another, contributing to a team that will look and feel distinctly different when the puck drops this fall. So, what do you think, Leafs Nation? Are these necessary, calculated moves to reshape the roster and shed dead weight? Or are they a sign of a deeper, more concerning erosion of organizational depth? We want to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below. Tell us which departure you think will have the biggest impact. And don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel for more in-depth analysis and passionate discussions about your Toronto Maple Leafs. This offseason is far from over, and you won't want to miss a single moment.